Well, I've got the frame on its back again now. It's time for me to start building this up, but before I do, I've got to go around and make sure there's no powder coat blocking any of the holes. Any threads that need to be cleaned out and chased, I'll do those now. I've got to get the spring back on here on the centre stand, and before I do, I like to clean the powder coating out of the little grooves where the spring seats. Otherwise there's a tendency for them to spring off. I'll just clean the paint out of those, and I've got a little contraption which helps me get this spring attached to both of the lugs, which can be quite tricky. Well, this is the contraption I use to get the centre stand spring back in place. Cuts down on cut fingers and blood blisters. Well, the spring's safely onto the little lugs now. That's the little contraption I've made. I've used it before, it works fine. But I had to tap that on with the screwdriver, but it went on okay. And the next job now will be to prepare the headstock to put the the top and bottom yokes in. I'll do that next. Well, I ended up cutting this off with the grinder. It was completely seized on with the powder coating, and it's only a scrap bolt, piece of threaded bar actually. There we go. So it's just a matter of cleaning these out now and be ready to put the yokes back in. Well, I've managed to get all the balls in there now. None have dropped down. They're all stuck in the grease. I'm going to squeeze a bit more grease in and then put the cover back on, or the top race back on, I mean. Well, it's time to put the fork stanchions back into the yokes now, and I've got two of these little tools. This one is one that I bought ages ago, and it's got the 2 threads on it. That's for a smaller fork stanchion, and this is the one I'll be using. And this is one I made some time ago, which worked great. I just turned down one of these old nuts and attach it to the end of a piece of M8 threaded bar. I'll show you how I do that in a moment. Well, there are lots of ways of doing this, and I'll show you how I do mine. First of all, I put a stanchion in through the yokes and pull them onto the taper without the spring and without the shroud, and what that does, it just lines up the holes in the yokes for when I work on the other side then when this is more or less lined up. Well, I've got this stanchion in place and it's just pulled up gently onto the taper, which keeps everything in line, and then I fit the shroud there, and I just put the pinch bolts in temporary. I'm going to be making new ones in stainless later, and then it's just a case of feeding this one up to locate the first yoke at the bottom there. Screw it in quite a way, and then spin it up down. Okay, so that's pulled out up against the taper now. And I just now work on the other one, put the spring in and do the same job on that side. That wasn't quite on the taper there, so I took it back down and it's now coming up into the taper nicely. And if you notice, these gaps are closed up now as you pull the stanchions up into place. Well, I've got the front forks built up and on the bike now, and everything's just nipped up lightly, the top nuts, the pinch bolts and the wheel spindle there. But I've hit a setback in so much as I've lost the nacelle or the diver's helmet, which holds the headlight and the speedo and a few other bits. And that's gone missing, and I've checked with the powder coat guys and they say they haven't got it, and I've searched in the workshop here and we've just lost it somewhere. but I can't really true the forks up until I get that, because that's obviously got to go on before I can do the check on the forks. I'll show you the little device I use. It's on the bed of the lathe now, just checking it for make sure it's true. But it's basically just a piece of MDF with 2 angle lines, and this is how BSA recommend you do it in their service sheet. And I've got mine, and it does work. But I can't use it until obviously I get sorts out the problem with the nacelle that's missing. But I was lucky enough to find one on eBay, and I'll show you that now. Well, this is the nacelle I bought, and it's been smothered in nitromors for a few days now, and as you can see, it's in a bit of a mess. And the nitromors has done its job, and as you can see, the plan now is to get all the remains of this paint off and give it a good wash down in hot soapy water, and maybe use the jet wash on it. But I'll get it back down to bare metal and take it over to the powder coaters to get it painted in the mid-bronze green colour. But that's where we're at the moment, and I can't do much more on the forks until this work is done. Look at that. So that's where we're at the moment. I'll work on that today.